Is Russell Wilson playing his way out of the Hall of Fame?
I don't know. There's going to be so many quarterbacks from this era who have a good argument for the Hall of Fame. So many. And I don't know. I'm always hesitant. The one guy though, Dan, I'm hesitant on Russell Wilson. I would like to see him do a little bit more somewhere outside of the cocoon of Seattle, and he hasn't yet, but let's see. The one guy who this year in Detroit on that Sunday night and then against San Francisco, I said to myself, Matthew Stafford, I'm not saying it's an absolute no doubt. Matthew Stafford absolutely has my vote. I think he's this generation's Dan Fouts. And plus he's got a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Dan Fouts didn't have one. I just think that Matthew Stafford and what he's done with a team that many times has been down and out because of injuries, he just keeps them in every single game. And I think Matthew Stafford's special.
And what I found interesting is these younger quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, C.J. Stroud, and they were gushing over Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Gushing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, they grew up on him and they're watching. Now, granted, he wasn't on the big stage, really, other than with the Rams, but they're seeing him and seeing what it's like to be a quarterback, to be able to do what he's doing. And I found that amazing, because if you're a young quarterback, you're probably saying, maybe it's Tom Brady, maybe it's Patrick Mahomes, somebody. They're watching Matthew Stafford when he was in Detroit.
Yeah.
And gushing over him.
Yeah. And I mean, look, everybody's going to say, if you say, oh, Matthew Stafford, the negative people for the Hall of Fame. To me, Matthew Stafford lifted that franchise for so many years into at least mediocrity when they probably didn't even deserve that. And I'd say one of the saddest things I've seen is when his own wife and their kids can't go to the first game of the season because they're going to get booed. I mean, sports fandom has really gone too far when something like that happens. Bothers me.
Well, Dan Campbell, you lose the playoff game and somebody leaks his address and you got, I mean, they should be planting flowers at Dan Campbell's house.
Yeah. He's fabulous. And that whole franchise, last year in training camp, I remember I've been to the Lions over the years in training camp, and there's 16 people there, as a crowd. And last year it was raining steadily at 7:30 in the morning for an 8:30 practice, and there was a line of people waiting to get in, a long line. I mean, they've changed football in Detroit. Bill Parcells always said the one team that he thought would have been great to coach, not that he looked back and wanted to change his life, would be the Detroit Lions. He just had a fascination because when Parcells was a kid, the Lions meant something.
Yeah, and Tony Dungy said he came close to coaching the Lions because his dad was a Lions fan.
Yeah.